Today I'm going to be talking about gender differences in toy preferences. To begin, this is data taken from a study done in humans about 20 years ago. The black lines correspond to masculine toys, and the gray lines correspond to feminine toys. Males are on this side, females are on this side. As you can see, there's a stark difference between males between preference for masculine and feminine toys, but there's actually no statistically significant difference in females. Now, this data is not true for all human studies, but it is the starting point, where I'd like to start. So, why do we get this gender difference? It was impossible to find this photo, by the way. So explanation one, you can have socialization. This is the kind of popular blank slate type hypothesis that's been true for, or that's been posited for about 30 years. So basically, you tell your boy that he wants to play with trucks, he's going to play with trucks. That's how you can summarize this. You tell your girl she needs to wear pink clothing, she's going to wear pink clothing and learn to like it. And this actually would explain the gender difference we just saw, because there's a much greater emphasis on boys not playing with feminine toys, or acting feminine, the girls acting masculine. Not that there isn't as pressure there, but it's less so. Second explanation, activity preferences. This is more of a biological argument. So the research here is in part based on prenatal hormones, but we're going to focus kind of what happens after that. So toys facilitate preferred activities. A kind of stereotype here would be girls like playing with dolls because they are learning how to be mothers. This also explains the gender difference that we saw to a certain extent. So in 2002 there was a study in vervet monkeys. This picture is actually in the textbook. And what you get is that males preferred playing with masculine toys more than females did, and then the reverse. Females like playing with feminine toys more than the males. The catch is that here, there's no statistically significant difference between male preference for male toys and male preference for female toys. This is effectively the same as these. And this is interesting because it's different than the study I'm going to present, which is sex differences in rhesus monkey toy preferences parallel those in children, which came out in 2008. So, the reason they did this study was that the vervet monkey study only presented the monkeys with one toy at a time. So there's this question of whether they were actually giving preferences, or whether it was just, you saw something interesting, you played with it for a long time, and then you didn't have as much time to play with the next toy. So this study tried to correct for that. Here are subjects, kind of adorable. They had a population in captivity of 135 that had existed for over 25 years, and from that you end up with 23 females and 11 males. They excluded infants because they couldn't play with the toys. They excluded animals that had been treated with prenatal hormones, just to control for everything they could. So the idea with these two studies is to control for socialization. Monkeys don't watch commercials on television, basically. Materials. Because they're going for preferred activities, they categorize toys not as masculine and feminine, but by what you can do with them. So, stereotypical feminine toy, plush toys. You had 7 stuffed animals, including Winnie the Pooh. And then, for the masculine, I picked wheeled toys. I'm not sure how strong an argument this is. I suspect that, they don't discuss in the paper, but I suspect this is not feminine activity. Study setup. 2 toys, one of each kind, were placed on the ground in an outdoor enclosure, and they flipped which side they were on every study. And video cameras were pointed facing at each. And then a rhesus monkey was released into the pen, and they measured the frequency of contact with each toy and the duration of contact with each toy. Now, can I get an awe for the adorables? Okay, so results. This is the human graph we saw earlier, and this is the data in rhesus monkeys. Effectively the same. Okay? So this is different than the vervet monkey study, because here, basically these 2 bars would be flipped. And we'll do a better job explaining that later. Is there a difference between does gender lead to a difference in preference for toy type? Yes. And for frequency and duration, you get a statistically significant p-value. Within males, is there a preference for wheel toys? Again, yes, statistically significant data. Within females, they hypothesized that there'd be no preference based on the human studies they were looking at, which is in opposition to the vervet monkey study where the males had no preference and females had a preference. And they proved their hypothesis in this case. The p-values are about 0.05, so there's no difference. Between sex comparison. In frequency, males equaled females in how much they played with the wheel toys, which makes sense if females have no preference. And males played with the plush toys less, which again makes sense if the males do have a preference. In terms of duration, I found this interesting. There was no statistically significant difference for either set of toys. No, there was no explanation of that in the paper. Perhaps the males were just more curious or something to that effect. So you get the same general pattern. Males show more interest in masculine toys and females show more interest in feminine toys, but you still have that difference in which side shows no preference. And kind of unfortunately, both are mirrored in human studies. So the vervet monkey study is mirrored in studies usually with infants and visual gaze preferences, whereas the rhesus monkey study is more toddlers. So at this point, it's really hard to say which one's right, other than it seems that the broadest pattern is the same. More studies need to be done. It would perhaps be helpful to go back, redo the vervet monkey study with the rhesus monkey protocol, see what happens. Okay, evolution explanations. The standard one would be that if you have certain activities that you have preferences for, it confers some benefit. So, again, we're going to return to females and dolls. If you play with dolls, it trains you effectively to be a mother. And you do see, for example, they talk about how the vervet monkey females will play with infants when they're young and kind of inspect them and pick them up and kind of things that you wouldn't want someone to do to your child, but they're learning. Beyond that, though, it's hard to see, for example, why male rhesus monkeys would like wheeled toys and what natural activity that's analogous to. So it almost would seem at the moment as if there's selective pressure on females to act a certain way, and males just kind of, there's no selective pressure. That may not be the case, but we need way more studies to be done before we can know. Thank you.